Welcome back to another episode of World-Beater Wrestling. You may have noticed that there hasn't been a lot of content the last few weeks. Obviously, Perth went into lockdown and there was a myriad of other issues and obligations. But fortunately, we are back and I'm excited to bring you a whole range of new content every Thursday through worldbeaterwrestling.com. Today's episode is answering the question of which attributes bookers value the most in pro wrestlers. So which things do you need to focus on? Which things are going to get you booked and which things don't really matter as much? I'm sure we've all felt the frustration from time to time of trying to crack the secret code in getting booked in the place you want to be. What of all the many hundreds of elements that make the pro wrestler does this booker or promoter really want? And that's a hard question to ask yourself because often you just really don't know. Of course, having a conversation with said booker or promoter is a great place to start. That way you know exactly where you could possibly fit in. But another way is to watch the shows that you want to be on. Watch them top to bottom. Put your booker's lens on and see where the gaps are in the product. Of course, if a promotion has 7 high flyers and you're going to slot in at a distant number 8, the odds of you actually getting booked consistently are going to be very small. But what if that promoter hasn't got many tag teams? Maybe they need a comedic babyface tag team to slot into their ranks. Well, then maybe that's where you fit. What if they need a technical wrestler who is fundamentally on point in ring to counteract all of the light-hearted and humorous characters they already have on their show? Is that where you may fit? Now, I know a lot of promoters do have a certain flavor and vibe about what they put out. And from my time as a booker, I definitely enjoyed the in-ring aspect the most. I wanted every single match to look good in ring. It had to be technically sound. But that's not to say I didn't believe in flavors of ice cream. While the in-ring had to be good, I still wanted a little bit of everything on the show. Because while half the crowd might really love technical wrestling and really good in-ring, there's always going to be a section who wants some light-hearted humor. There's a section who just want to laugh. And if anything, it breaks up some of the monotony if everything is all one pace, one level. So be yourself, exemplify your strengths, but you got to fit in somewhere. And you got to make sure that your competition is as minimal as possible. This is why I think it's important to at least be solid at everything. And I know being the jack of all trades, master of none is definitely no way to put yourself ahead of the rest, but you don't want to have a weakness that prevents you from being looked at altogether. And you know, sometimes there are little factors that are completely unrelated to the in-ring that could cost you or gain you a booking. Sometimes you've got to ask yourself, what's your relationship like with the booker, promoter, or even the rest of the roster? Have there been prior incidents that put you in a negative light? Are you easy to work with? Often I find that's a deal breaker in itself. How expensive is your booking fee, or is it going to cost money to fly you in? Where do you live in relation to the promotion? And if it's your home promotion you're trying to get a look into, you might need to ask yourself what you've been doing outside of show day to really prove yourself. Have you been putting the effort in at training? Have you been helping out wherever you can? Have you paid your dues in other ways? I mean, when it comes down to it, networking and relationships can play such a massive factor in the game. And I'm not just talking about pro wrestling, but life. It's often right place, right time. Not what you know, but who you know. And is that a bad thing? You can take it as you will, but for me, make yourself as desirable as possible, show your value in as many different ways as possible. And sooner or later, the odds are going to swing in your favor. Thanks for checking out this week's episode of World-Beater Wrestling. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and if you have any questions or requests, don't be afraid to comment below. I'll see you next Thursday for the next episode.
If you want to see more videos like this, click on the subscribe button, spread the word, and if you have any questions or requests for World-Beater Wrestling, don't be afraid to comment below.